It is 9:01 a.m. I'll call the March 26th Board of Supervisors meeting to order. We do have a quorum. Before we get started, we have Miss Lawson, board member that's out of town, and I'm going to read in accordance with the electronic meeting policy. Miss Lawson contacted the chair and vice chair and the county administrator to notify us that she would not be able to attend the meeting today because she's out of town. Ms. Lawson is participating from her phone. There is a quorum present in our normal meeting room this morning. We have made arrangements for Ms. Lawson to participate remotely through the use of the speakerphone, which can be heard by all persons at our normal meeting room. Approval is automatic unless someone wishes to move to disapprove this electronic participation. I hear any motions? Hear none, Ms. Lawson is approved to participate. Ms. Lawson, are you with us?
I'm here. Good morning.
Good morning. Moving on to our agenda, would everyone please stand? I'm going to ask Mr. Scott Farling to do our invocation. Remain standing for the pledge.
Our Father in heaven, we thank thee for this lovely day today. We're grateful for the opportunity we have to live in the country which we live and the freedoms that we have. We ask thee to bless us this day, that we will have wisdom and direction from thee in the things we need to do. Please bless these supervisors as they make decisions, that they'll do what is best for the county. Bless the citizens of the county, that things will go well for them. They'll be happy and successful in the things they like to do. Please also bless all of us, that will be kind and friendly to those around us. And we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Again, welcome everyone this morning. Before we get into our agenda, we have a presentation of a sports resolution. Mr. Ball.
Swim on up here, Tatum. With County Resolution 2019-05, a resolution honoring Tatum Robinson of the George Wythe High School swim team. Whereas George Wythe High School freshman Tatum Robinson completed a very successful 2018-2019 swim season. And whereas Tatum advanced to the regional 2C meet and placed first in the 100-meter breaststroke, 200-meter individual medley, and a member of the 200 free relay team. And whereas Tatum advanced to the 2018-2019 Virginia High School League State Class 1A-2A Swim and Dive Championship in Richmond, Virginia on February 14, 2019. And whereas Tatum defeated the competition, capturing the 2018-2019 VHSL 1A-2A State Championship in the 200-meter individual medley with a time of 2 minutes, 11 seconds, and 9/10. Is that correct? And whereas Tatum is the first Wythe County athlete to capture a state swimming championship, and whereas the Wythe County Board of Supervisors officially commends Tatum Robinson for her outstanding dedication, athletic ability, and sportsmanship. Now, therefore, it be resolved that the Wythe County Board of Supervisors presents this resolution to Ms. Tatum Robinson in recognition of her 2018-2019 swimming state championship title, and be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be incorporated into the official minutes of the Wythe County Board of Supervisors adopted this 26th day of March, 2019. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Entertain a motion to adopt.
So moved.
Have a second.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Well, I'm not
Aye.
done yet.
So adopted.
Because I happen to personally know a little bit about your dedication. because I spent a little time around your mother. And I find it odd that the year that we've had as much rain as we've had, we actually have our first state championship swimmer in Wythe County. And that resolution is for you. But I want to give your parents a round of applause because I know your mother told me that y'all left Wytheville every morning at 4:30 so you could go practice. Then you came back as a high school student and middle school student, because I know you've been swimming since you were like 2, 4. And you're also an honor roll student, correct? So congratulations and thank you, Mom and Dad. Oh, yeah. Make Gretchen.
Get Coach Aker.
Yeah, electing the coach. This is a team effort. She just got in the water. Thank you all.
I've been watching Tatum for many years. My children had the joy of swimming at the same time she was. And for years, my son had said that was going to be the first state champion from Wythe County in swimming. So congratulations.
Congratulations. We've got a lot of good athletes in Wythe County.
We have
So,
3 more resolutions, just so everybody knows we're not leaving them out. 2 of them, formal resolutions. A couple of them are going to make it today, but due to spring break, we're unable to make it. So in the April meetings, either night or day meetings, we'll have the rest of them taken care of.
okay.
Just remember, Tatum, you'll always be first.
Okay, we'll move on to our agenda, citizens' time. Mr. Cox.
Sitting there almost asleep. But name's Roy Cox, you know, and I live on Pope Road. We've been trying for a long time to get that road blacktopped. And so far, we ain't been too successful about it. But we need that road. We need that road really, really blacktop. It's getting bad. It's been bad. And the bridge is still out, so that's 2 strikes. So I urge each and every one of you to push for me to get that road blacktop or the bridge.
Well, I don't know what we can do about the bridge. We've tried and tried and tried about it, but it's on the 6-year plan. What year is it to be paved?
I'll look at it and see, and today, Mr. Andy Fowler is coming, Mr. Russell cannot come, and they are going to discuss the 6-year plan and where they are and the status of the roads. So if you want to hang around for a little bit, they will be here talking about it.
Okay. And again, I hear Mr. Horny is leaving. You're not leaving, are you?
Not that I know of.
Well, somebody's spreading rumors in. But we don't want you to leave.
I was gonna say, do you want me to leave?
No, no, no.
Okay.
You got a job ahead of you yet.
All right.
All right, I appreciate
I
each and
started
every one
that
of
rumor, Mr. Cox. Keep spreading it.
Thank you, Mr. Cox.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Matthews?
Geez, good thing we didn't vote on that one. My name's Paul Matthews. I live on Pope Road. And I'm a little concerned about some things on Pope Road. Our drains has never been cleaned out. They're all still stopped up just like they were normal, which supposed to been cleaned out a couple years ago. Nothing's been done. I guess they're waiting for blacktop so they just tear them out and put new ones in. But anyway, I'm concerned about out there at the farmhouse about a mile from Ivanhoe out on Pope Road at that big farmhouse next to Cripple Creek there. I'm concerned why it's never been a guardrail or nothing put along that creek bank. You get off the hard top, you're over the bank. And if a tree don't stop you, you're going into the creek or into the water. And it's about 100 yards in the S turn there. it's dangerous. I mean, if it's slick, going from towards Speedwell, coming into that turn, if you went straight, you was over the hill. And coming down the other way, when you made that right turn, going around towards that farmhouse, on that turn, if you don't make a turn, you over the hill. My son-in-law wrecked a 15 model Silverado pickup on that turn back in December with that first little snow was on. He's come around that turn and lost traction, went straight and wound up against two trees, done $12,000 damage to the vehicle. Why can't we get some guardrails or else use railroad cross ties and stake them down around there for a barrier to stop a vehicle from going over that bank? It's very dangerous. I mean, it's just open. And if you get off a hard top on the creek side, some places it ain't that far till you done going over the bank. It's something needs to be done about it.
That's something we can ask Mr. Fowler when he gets here too,
Yeah,
on safety.
because I don't
stuff.
understand why there's never nothing put around there, and it's a very dangerous place in there. Because it ain't nothing to stop a vehicle from just going over the bank if it loses traction, a little bit of snow or ice or something on, it's gone. And it's happened this winter already, and that's a lot of damage to a vehicle.
Yeah,
and,
I agree with you.
that
It needs
bridge-
guardrail.
That bridge still needs to be put back in because that was one of the main ways in and out off of 619. And since that bridge is out, we have to come back to Ivanhoe and out that way, so. But appreciate if you get something done on these things because we need that blacktop, that road, because it gets in bad shape, dusty. Car goes down right now on the dustiest roads. Clean over on my house, cars, everything. And then when it's wet, it's muddy and hard to keep any gravel on it, period, to keep us out of the mud, period. We've been very fortunate this winter. They have tried a couple or three times and they put gravel on it, to give us traction and keep us kind of out of the mud. But blacktop would solve a lot of problems and cut down on the cost of maintenance on that road. So we appreciate it if you can get something done on it and everything. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you, Mr. Cox, Mr. Matthews, And we'll bring all that up to Mr. Fowler and VDOT when they get here. What time are they supposed to be here? 10?
I'll be around 10, yes, sir.
Okay. We move in our agenda, payment of invoices, entertain a motion to approve. So moved. Have a second.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any invoice, any board member would like to pull out or discuss? Here.
Mr. Chairman, I will bring up one item, Mr. Vault brought it to my attention. There is a reimbursement in there, that shows 3 charges all been charged to mileage. It's invoice number 101-700. I left up their desk, Mark, for the copy. Okay, well, basically, the first one is a mileage charge. The other 2 have been recoded. They should be travel and conventions charges. There was a coding error in AP. I just want to let everyone know it was not a total of $930 for mileage. It was only $116 in mileage, and the rest was in travel and convention fees. That doesn't change the amount, doesn't change the check. Just we will code it to the correct line.
Okay, does anybody have any questions?
I've got one clarification. I don't see an engineer's report on here later, so. Stephen, I was reading the engineer's report on the Max Meadows Bridge, and I see a $10,000 charge on that budget for a bond. Is that the VDOT bond? In your explanation,
Well,
Bill?
It's not in the invoice that's been paid, so no, it's not in there.
No,
No.
but it's coming up in the water committee. It'll be discussed in the water committee report.
Okay.
Any other question on any other invoice? Here none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Horny, Ms. Lawson,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Next item is approval of the minutes of the March 12th, 18th, 19th, 20th, and 21st meetings. Entertain a motion to approve.
Chairman, I make a motion to approve.
Have a second.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any corrections or changes need to be made to the minutes? Here none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Vaught?
Aye.
I can't vote on the 18th and 19th, but aye on the others.
Okay.
Aye.
Ms. Lawson?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Old business. Mr. Barrett, anything under old business?
I do not have any items on the old business, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, reports. Don't see Miss Gwen this morning. Don't see Miss Barker.
Ms. Gwen did send me a message that she would not be able to attend the meeting today. If there's any questions, I'll be glad to refer them back to her.
Okay.
I've got one.
Yes.
You got an update for us on the tax collected by the Apex Center? Did she get that to you?
I do not have an update from them yet. However, yesterday afternoon, and Ms. Colleen is actually currently making copies of it. We got the package in from SMG, a FedEx package that had all their closeout statements, that has the amounts, the copies of the checks they have issued for the events and all that. It has come in. We are making copies of all that, and we'll make the reports off of that to provide to the board of the income. I do know that the event last week, the circus event, was $2,200.30 in income for the
Attendance tax
attendance
only?
tax. Yes.
Okay.
Sheriff Dunnigan, do you have anything this morning? Okay. Good morning.
Mr. Bear has a letter from our office about declaring a lot of property surplus. And when you see that thing, you're gonna see a lot of stuff on it. But most of that stuff has a lot of age on it. It's already been replaced. It's just taking up space at the office, and that's why we want to get rid of it. And that's all
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, if I might,
Yes.
while the sheriff is up here, and just one of the items to be discussed, obviously, as you all know, we have the road crew that is out picking up trash throughout the county along the roads. And we do bill back to VDOT for hours along the road to collect that. A request has come in from the authority to see if on some occasions, with the authority providing trash bags, if this cleanup crew could go up to the Apex Center and pick up all the trash on the banks, especially even what comes off the truck stop, but what blows down over the banks in the process. So we'd still be using that inmate labor to pick some of that up. It would just all be left there, and the authority would take responsibility for throwing all that away. But it's not chargeable back to VDOT during that time. It would just be for services and picking it up, which we're not recovering all costs anyway as it is. So I just wanted to check with the board members, make certain there was no issue, and especially maybe on a Monday after a weekend event, that crew go up there and do some of the cleanup and leave the trash bags there for the authority to take care of getting rid of.
Outside only?
Outside only, yes.
Well, I read your summary of what's the fellow's name, Erickson?
Yes, sir. Steve
Uh,
Erickson.
In days that they're not picking up, he's at work anyway, isn't
He is.
he? Okay, so I think that reinforces, with all the wind we've had, they're behind a little bit now, as you know.
Right.
All the roads are back like they used to be, but it's based on 55-mile-an-hour wind.
Right. But it's the same roads that get hit hard as the ones that have the trash station. If you go down 21 South right now, it's covered with trash. It was picked up less than 10 days ago.
There's one area, and I don't know, on 94, the S curves down there, that's, I mean, I know Coy can attest, it's got an awful lot of trash. But I don't know if they're just not picking that up because of the sight distance that,
They've got stuff to put out to let
Yeah.
people know they're there. I don't know why they wouldn't stop and pick it up.
but it's awful, bad around there, ain't it, Coy?
Mr. Bears, the authority, are they gonna reimburse the county for the time, or are they wanting?
They're just requesting to just have them come, and they were not talking about reimbursing the county for the time.
I'm afraid we're setting a precedent, because they've leased it, and, I mean, even though the county built it, what are we gonna do if a private business asks? I mean, I understand the bank along the roadway, but as far as the Apex property, I'm cautious about doing that.
Understand, the only difference I would say is at least it is under authority, and for years, the JPSA had a trustee come and work at the authority at the transfer station, for helping them out. I would not be recommending or advocating that we be doing it on any private property. This is just because it is authority property. That's why I bring it up to you all to see, because the original thing you all agreed to fund was a deputy to be on the road picking up the trash, along the road.
I guess since we got them objecting, we can entertain a motion to approve or disapprove it. Entertain a motion to approve it since we
So
have.
moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Well, I mean, I just think we're opening a can of worms on that. If they wanna clean on the bank, that's one thing, but, you know, I know we had a discussion about them cleaning up town roads, not cleaning up town roads because they're funded by, you know, us.
It's still county property. The lease could change in 3 years, and that's the lease agreement with the authority, Stephen. They're the operator for 3 years or
I think it's
5. So it's still county property that we've got to maintain. And I think that you're right. You don't want to get a precedent of going to truck stops and doing it. But if we can get it before it gets out on the right of way, it saves money in the long run and really the source is where the problem is. We can't deal with the wind, but the source of being all this trash out here, some of it does come from truck stops. And from time to time, we ask Arlington, get them to clean up, but East Lee Highway is bad. From Love's, the way the wind's been blowing, but that's commerce. Trash is part of us making money by people spending money here. Just like the convenience stations are part of the whole package.
They are, and anywhere there's an exit off the interstates, those are people throw a lot of trash out.
But let's remember that we're collecting the revenue off of those people that are creating the trash. So it's part of the package. We deal with the trash. And
Well,
we've been
you know-
doing a great job. I mean, I've commended these guys a lot for getting, people like to see the inmates working. I think the inmates like to work. They have to volunteer, don't they? They don't force them to come out here.
No, they don't force them.
And every one of them I've seen have been happy at their work.
And it is
They
very,
don't particularly like the dress they wear, but they like what they're doing.
it's a very popular program in the county.
Well, you know, I've been up to the Apex Center several times and will tell you the truth, what trash is really the Apex is very little. I mean, but the truck stop trash, you go down to the fields down there right east of the truck stop, and that's where all the trash is at.
And
It's
if
all
we get
coming
that
from the
fence
truck
up-
stop. It's not really not the exposed trash.
If we get that fence up, we'll keep the trash on the
Well,
truck stop side.
We need to get that up. But have we contacted the truck stops?
Yes.
Have they cleaned it up?
The last time that I was out there, and that was, when did I see you out there? Last week, maybe, whatever? No, they had not. But, we have been in touch with them. Mr. Dumford has visited all of the truck stops, businesses, through the area of the trash coming out through there.
And we don't have an ordinance of any sort where we can charge them?
We do on the right of way. We do have that on the trash on the right of way. If they don't clean that up, we've got an ordinance adopted in the early 2000s on it. But what's blowing over on us, other than civil action, no.
Okay. We have a,
I can see Brian's point, but I think it is county property, and people go up there and they see trash, it reflects on the county.
Well, it is county property, but if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Baird, part of the lease was that they would maintain the property
That's correct. Yes, sir.
that they signed.
any other questions or comments? Hear none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Vaught?
No.
Aye.
Aye.
Ms. Lawson?
No.
And the chair votes aye. Motion passes 5-2. Okay, any more questions for the sheriff? Thank you, Sheriff. Budget Committee report.
Budget Committee met on March 20th, 2019, and recommended the following. First item is transferring $9,150 to 31021-461260 for the purchase of firearms.
Come from committee, it doesn't need a second. Any other questions?
Mr. Chairman, if you will, would you also include within that motion to transfer that amount from the jail processing fees to the police activity fund?
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'd ask Mr. Farthing if he thinks I need to read my disclosure on these. Okay. I, Brian Vaught, as a member of the Wythe County Board of Supervisors, declare pursuant to the Virginia Conflict of Interest Act that regarding this matter of surplus property involving the Wythe County Sheriff's Office, I have a personal interest because I'm a full-time employee of the Wythe County Sheriff's Office, which may be affected by the matters to be discussed today, and I declare that I am able to participate in this matter fairly, objectively, and in the public interest.
Mr. Farthing, I would like to read mine also. I, Ryan Lawson, as a member of the Wythe County Board of Supervisors, declare pursuant to the Virginia Conflict of Interest Act that regarding the Wythe County Sheriff's Office matters on the agenda being discussed today, I have a personal interest because I'm a full-time employee. My husband is a full-time employee of the Wythe County Sheriff's Office, which will be affected by the matters discussed today. And I declare that I am able to participate in this matter fairly, objectively, and in the public interest. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. You heard, do we have since we got an amendment to the motion, do we have an amendment, a motion for that amendment? Have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any more questions
That discussion.
or discussion?
Yeah, I want to challenge this whole procedure. For this one question, I think these two should not rely on this statement, but this question, I read the package, and Ms. Lawson's husband actually put together the package we're voting on here. So for this one, I think, Mr. County Attorney, that we ask for an opinion on this from the State Ethics Commission. Is that correct?
We did last year concerning, the question was Mr. Vaught's role as a school resource officer when we were debating hiring or funding that position
school.
Well, that was a very narrow interpretation of the whole
That was the
process.
question, the
Right.
answer came back very broad, which is the letter I sent to you, I was gonna bring up in my attorney report to ask for clarification.
Well, the Ethics Council, the letter that come back from them said they shouldn't participate in anything.
That's right.
But you said, you know, as long as they read the statement and everything was okay, but the opinion we got from the Commonwealth Attorney from Giles County just dealt with the school resource officer's part.
Yes, that's correct. And
But-
there is, in the conflict section, there's this clause that if it affects more than 3 people, you know, they can read the disclosure, and still vote as long as it's has broader effect than just them individually or their spouse, to at least 3 other people.
So that includes the whole sheriff's department as part of those 3?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's like the item number 4, Mr. Hale, on the budget committee. I abstained from that because with those code numbers, I don't know whether that just affected me and another person, or I don't know if I was involved. I can't definitely say that I was in or out of that thing, so I'll abstain from that.
Doesn't change my opinion on this. One, I'm not challenging y'all's right to vote on things, but I think on this one, we're clear, in my opinion, and it is surplus, as the sheriff has said. But to be surplus, it means that you got rid of or discontinued use of, so somebody is getting new weapons out of it, or they're already here. So in this one case, I'm just questioning the validity of what we're doing here in the discussion as far as I'm concerned.
Okay. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion, comments? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Horny?
No,
Ms. Lawson?
Abstain.
And the chair votes aye. Motion passes. Next item,
Next item is declaring sheriff's office weapons surplus as listed in the attachment memo from B.J. Lawson dated February 2019.
okay, come from committee, it doesn't need a second. Any questions, discussion? Hear none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Vaught?
no,
Ms. Lawson?
Abstain.
And the chair votes aye. Next item,
Third item is declaring the sheriff's office equipment listed on the attached memo from B.J. Lawson dated March 15th, 2019.
okay, come from committee, it doesn't need a second. Any other question or discussion? Hear none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Horny?
no,
Ms. Lawson?
Abstain.
And the chair votes aye. Anything else?
Fourth item is amending and appropriating the following funds: 3102-461-265, $1,454.05. 31021, 461-265 as well, 517239, and 31026 is 461-265, 447 and 70 cents. This is for payment to Gales from the previous fiscal year, but the check did not clear. Stop payment has been issued on the outstanding check, and new check will be sent.
Okay, any questions or comments? Hear none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Vaught?
I'll abstain.
Ms. Lawson?
Abstain.
And the chair votes aye. Motion passed. Anything else from the budget committee?
That's all.
Okay. Water committee.
Sorry, I was going to sleep. The water committee met on March 20th and makes the following recommendations. Accepting the VDEM grant in the total amount of $115,000 for the Fort Chiswell pumping station generator.
Okay, come from committee, it doesn't need a second. Any questions, comments?
yes, sir.
Yes.
I read that whole package, Mr. County Administrator. It was lengthy to say the least.
Yes.
Can we keep up with all those time commitments that meant absolutely nothing to me in reading it?
I have given information to the staff about it. We are going to advertise the RFP. We should not have any problems meeting the time commitments.
It looked like they were setting a trap for you to miss one.
Yeah.
Okay,
We're going to try our best to meet it because we definitely need that pump station.
so engineering is in there. There's a pad site already designed. We're ready to go with it.
And we already have in hand partial specifications already that we've developed. We already have partial specifications in hand. We've already sized the generator. We have the loads established on that, so it should go pretty quick.
Well, just for our edification, I wanted to understand, how big is this generator?
It's
400 and some.
That's a lot of money for a
Yeah.
generator, so it's gotta be a big whopping generator.
It's a big one.
How much fuel capacity will be there, like days or hours?
At least a day and a half.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Horny,
Aye.
All right,
Ms. Lawson,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Next item.
Approving change order number 2 for the Raper Ridge Water Tank Project. This change order is a contract increase of $3,432.87 and the addition of 1 day.
Okay, come from committee, doesn't need a second. Any other discussion?
who's
Question.
state created change order?
The as-built drawings in this project showed a 20-inch valve there. It ended up in a 16-inch valve. So it was in the previous construction of that tank back in the early 2000s, mid-2000s, that the as-built had the incorrect data on it. The contractor was not known until they dug it up and found that it had the wrong size.
Oh, but there was a 20 there, or was there a 16 there?
There was a 16 there.
And what are we putting back?
They connected it to the 20 with the,
16 by 20.
Are we getting more valve or less valve than what was bid?
we had to get come on, I'm talking about, you had to add,
And increase the size of it. We're getting the same valve, we just need to connect it. It's a connection to the valve, that's all. It's 16 by 20 flange to connect. That's all.
So that is a debit change order. We're increasing the value, is that correct?
yes.
It's an increase.
And a flange is costing that much money?
The price of the item and the cost of the install.
Well, they already bid the valve once.
Not the valve, it's the transition piece, that's all.
They were supposed to be going into what they thought was a 20-inch valve that was there. It wasn't. They had to buy the additional transition piece to take and add the 16-inch to the 20-inch and do all the piping to get it to that.
Okay.
Any other questions? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Vaught
Aye.
and Ms. Lawson,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Next item.
Transferring $155,615 out of the utility fund for the Max Meadows Bridge project and to amend and appropriate the same.
Okay, again, come from committee, doesn't need a second. Mr. Hale, you had some discussion.
Yeah, in reading that package, we did reduce the cost of the project from the bid amount. But in reading that package, it calls out $10,000 for a bond. Is that a cash bond that we're just transferring money into a residual account for VDOT, or are we actually buying a bond?
That is the performance and abatement bonds that the contractor is getting on this job. We are not buying a bond of it, no.
Or why are we paying for it?
That was in their bid price of everything they bid in, that was the amount they had in there for their cost. That's just a breakdown of what their bid package, when they gave us the breakdown of what their total bid was, that's what's in it.
Well, I've handled bonds and contractors for close to 60 years. And if you're paying $10,000 for a $150,000 job, the contractor is very risky. You probably will get his house on the line too. That's just totally ridiculous that a bond would cost that much. Bill, Mr. Bond, you know that.
Big price, in fact.
So- Say
It was a
again?
big price, so that's what we accepted, was the bid. And negotiate, it didn't come up in the negotiations, we were negotiating down on the price.
Is it normal in a bid process that the bond be extracted and be addition to the contract price? Yes or no?
I've seen it both ways, depending on the risk of the job.
Where is the risk on this job?
It's different than a regular water line, because it's a bridge project.
But I want to be clear on this. This is not a VDOT bond. We're paying $10,000 for a contractor that should be able to bond himself.
Well, most projects, you have, I mean, even when we built the Apex Center, there was a bond cost that was in there.
It wasn't separated out though.
Right, it wasn't separated what the total was, but there was a bond cost that was in there.
Always is.
Yeah, most of the time when you're doing a mobilization charge, they're getting the mobilization and a bond cost package in there in the process.
Here's the major thing. We got, what was your construction cost, $135,000, $150,000 was the total bid. Right.
The additional on this also, because we added in the total project cost, there's inspection costs on that too. And the 155, we've also added in the inspection costs for the AE services. So this is the total project.
That's where I picked up on this. Why are we buying the contractor's bond for it? Now you really got me confused.
Hey, let me back up and clarify here, Mr. Hale, on something, just for the record here. You all have already approved the contract based on these amounts.
Right.
That was approved at the last meeting or the previous meeting. Let me back all the way up. Previously, this came to the board a couple months ago with a full recommendation to approve a contract and to amend and appropriate the funds. And it was rejected at that time to go back for negotiations.
Negotiate, did a good
Went
job.
back to negotiations and came back, and at the previous meeting, you all approved this contract with them for this amount. Unfortunately, at the same meeting, the language of amending and appropriating did not get in there, and so that's what this discussion
Is a
is
breakdown.
for, to amend and appropriate, yes.
Okay. My real point here is that we, the first time we approved it, we didn't approve because we were only dealing with a number. And now we're looking at a breakdown of what we're getting for that number. And in my opinion, it's unusual that we're paying for the bond separate, and that's the end of the conversation. It was a design method.
Okay, any other questions? Here none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Horning? Ms. Lawson?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Anything else from the Water Committee?
I would request as well in that motion that was just taken, or additional motion here, just to make certain everything is clarified. I would request approval of the Cardno agreement that is in there. Let me pull it up here real quick. I just lost the page I was on. I'll check that. It starts on page 98, and and it was shown in the numbers that was just on, that's the construction management services that go with this project. That is $12,340. It's a not to exceed contract.
What percentage is that of the construction bid?
Probably about 9%.
And they got paid to design it.
Yes.
In conversations with them, sir, we're not expecting it to go up that much anyway. The job can be done fairly quickly, so we want to get close to 12,000. That's more.
Well, that's what I was thinking. It's not $12,000 worth of work, so
Right.
why are we handling it as a separate item?
We use the road, well, this is part of our AE services. We did the design on the emergency for the term contract. So this goes onto the term contract for the construction management inspection services.
And we didn't have construction administration as part of the original work?
Right, and the additional, the way the EJCD documents are designed, it was not under additional items at the time when we did the AE services.
Okay.
I have a motion to approve.
Motion would be to approve
Approve.
Card-Notes Engineering Agreement with a not to exceed of $12,340.
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second? Have a motion and second. Any other discussion? Here none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Vaught,
Aye.
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 Ms. Lawson,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Anything else from the Water Committee or Mr. Barrett?
Yes, sir.
County Administrator's Report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First item, as everyone knows, we are coming up on a census. We have got this resolution to pass. I have asked our Public Information Officer to start preparing information to get out on Census Awareness Days. Last week during our budget presentations, we heard there's talking about how there's a push to do a lot more census counts online, and that's a concern for a lot of areas with a lot of people that may not be online and may not be involved with it. This is just one of the first items that's come down and is requested that we declare a Census Awareness Day for April 1st, and continue to try to promote awareness of census not only on that day but through the upcoming year to help us to ensure an accurate census count.
And I'll add to that, when I was in Washington a month ago, first of the month, the Census Bureau and the Rural Caucus brought up the Complete Count Committee that a lot of counties are forming and across the nation. And what the Complete Count Committee, they don't actually do any counting or anything like that, but the committee makes the community or the county aware how important a complete count is of the citizens in the county, each county, especially in rural Virginia or the rural United States, because our population count counts for a lot of funding, grants, and other things that we get from the federal government and state government. So, I've got some information. I hadn't had a chance to meet with Mr. Barr on the Complete Count Committee, and that's something else that I'd like to, work with. They are expecting and hoping that they will have at least around 55% participation online. And again, they're going to send out cards, and they're going to go. What they don't get in through online and through the cards. They will be going house to house. But the complete count committee, you know, with the library, working with the library, we have computers at the library and other places that we can get citizens in that don't have access to the internet, where they can do it online. So I would like to, maybe at our next meeting, bring up and be looking at people, you know, that we think may be interested in serving on this complete count committee. But I'll entertain a motion to adopt resolution 2019-06. Have a second.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion or questions? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Horny?
Aye.
Aye.
Ms. Lawson?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Next item.
Next item is just for information, unless you all would like to send information out, but it's Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. Throughout all the long documentation, basically it's going through the entire steps just to for them to meet their requirements to run the dam at a foot lower during the winter months than what they currently do.
A permit.
They are proposing, Appalachian is currently evaluating the feasibility and benefits of operating the developments with the 1 foot lower impoundment levels. The purpose of the lower winter impoundment level would be due to the risk, to reduce the risk of overtopping project structures due to ice jams such as those that occurred in January 2010. No other changes to operation or facilities are proposed at this time. For information purposes only, unless we feel we need to provide some sort of a comment. All the land is obviously in our county to the south, not on us, so I do not have any comments or that I recommend on that.
Anybody on the board want to make any comments or have any other questions?
I'd like to make one comment. I won't be here, but Buck and Billsby need to be maintained and kept in place for you guys that are gonna be here. Be totally against any effort to ever do away with those two dams. Because the amount of sludge and sedimentation that's above those dams, if there's ever a move to do away with them, it will devastate all of New River that's in Witt County. That sludge will move downstream. Mr. Vaughn will tell you, in 6 months, it'll be all down through Witt County, and there's roughly 200 to 500 acres of sludge built up behind those dams because they didn't have mud gates back when they were built. Over the years, all of Allegheny County, North Carolina, is behind those dams now, and we don't want it down through Witt County. So the ones of you that are gonna live a lot longer than I will, please don't let anything happen to take those dams out. Thank you.
I agree. Okay, next item.
Next item is just the, over here with DSS, with the Children's Services Act, the CSA. These are audit findings that they went through, and the list here has everything. The good news was there were no findings that were subject to denial of funds or things like that in the process. These were all correctable things come across, paperwork errors and things like that that they're working on. If anyone has any questions about it or would like, I could be certain would have Ms. Ayers come over here to talk
Well,
about it.
how long has the citizens on the board not been there?
On the FAP
Representation.
team- On that FAP team?
Yeah.
I don't know how long that was, but they were making the corrections to get them on there in the process.
And they are working on the rest of the.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. County Administrator, I would like you to convey that I had occasion this past month to call on DSS for somebody in my community. Give them a big attaboy. They responded within hours, did a really great job in getting this person some help, and have stuck with it. They're still taking care of him. They contacted family from out of state, got them involved, and it's just great to see an agency work like it's supposed to. So thank the director and her people for doing a great job.
I will be glad to pass that along.
Next item.
Next item, at the last meeting, and I spoke with Mr. Hale about this the other day, you all agreed to replace lights at Max Meadows Field with 1,000-watt lights, and the Max Meadows Realty Club was going to pay for replacing all of the poles out there. Unfortunately, we can't work out the agreement that Mr. Hale and I were trying to work out with Max Meadows Realty Club on that, because AEP won't play that way. They will put the poles in, but no matter how hard I tried, they will not just charge us a one-time fee for replacement of the poles that is built into the price. So, and the price that they have for the 1,000-watt bulb with the lights was higher than what we were tentatively budgeting for it. So I would request the approval of revising that to go ahead and replacing all 6 poles and installing 6 400-watt light bulbs. Total estimated cost of that a year is $1,900. If after we get them up and in, if we find out it's not enough wattage, we can look at that point in time if we need to increase 1 or 2 of the lights to a higher wattage. There'll be no additional charge to do that. They'll just come in and change them out if that be the case.
Okay, I entertain a motion to approve option A. Have a second.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Vaught?
Aye.
Aye.
Ms. Lawson?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. You have anything else, Mr. Bear?
Can I say something?
Yes.
We need to really thank the Wood and the West County at Max Meadows, because we're very involved in a lot of things for the youth down there. I don't know what would be appropriate, but I think we do need to send them thank you.
I agree.
Well, I had to Corey's comment. We're gonna keep that money, for a little while, that the club's already appropriated, just cause Appalachian would rather rent us a pole than to get a one-time charge. I haven't done the math, but I'll bet they have. On the long life of a pole, $5 a month don't sound like much, but if my math is right, they're gonna come out on those poles by renting them at $5 a month.
Yeah, for the rest of eternity. I mean,
Did-
$30 a month for 6 poles at the field for now on.
Mr. Bear, did they agree to a height of pole? We don't want those short poles back in there
No,
because,
they won't put them on the poles that are there. It's got to be a higher pole that they would go with.
because it needs to get that light high enough to focus on the field and not be a problem for the neighborhood of shining straight across on those houses on the other side of the railroad. On the school side, it doesn't matter because you're shining against that bank. But across the railroad, the squirrels may be kept up at night if they're too low. Thank you. Smooth sail.
Mr. Bear, you have anything else?
Oh,
Mr. Fodling?
Thing I have is, I'd sent you a letter last month, just to clarify that conflict opinion. Just wanted I guess, a consensus from you guys if you want me to proceed with that, or no, don't send it.
Well, I went back and I read the opinion from the Ethics Council, and it's pretty straightforward what they think. And, you know, in my opinion, I think we do need a clarification. I mean, we've already had a question come up today. And, you know, as far as that goes, you know, on the, you know, it's, my wife working, substituting for the school board and working the polls, for the, election board. I'm going to abstain from voting on any of them until we do get a clarification from the Ethics Council in Richmond.
Okay. I just didn't want to send the letter without letting you guys know what I was doing. That's why I wanted to ask.
Well, and I shared with Mr. Farthing, you know, my problem is they give different opinions. And, you know, I followed up last year. I found the opinion they gave a gentleman in, was it Rustburg?
I think so.
County administrator and for Rustburg that is a principal of, I guess their, whatever they call their tech center. And they gave him a completely different opinion than they gave me. And when I sent it all to the executive director, and I want a clarification, said, you know, can you explain to me similar situation, total different opinion? And they told me, they said, well, different lawyers have different opinions.
Yeah.
And, you know, which, you know, I don't mind playing by the rules, but I need to know what the rules are. The rules can't change.
Right.
And I agree with you.
And that's, and you know, and I know Mr. Reeves, you know, ref for years. You know, one of the hardest sports to ref is soccer because there's so many judgment calls. And, you know, like I said, you know, if it's affecting the whole thing, I think I can do it. You know, I'm not gonna vote on anything that affects me. You know, I've kept my promise. I sent everybody a letter. You know, in the upcoming budget, I don't want any raises. I won't accept any pay raises that come out of the tax coffers of this county. Because I said that from day one. I don't know how much more fair I can be. And, you know, over the years, this has never come up before. I don't know why, you know, it's come up before or come up now, but we need to address it. I don't have faith in the Ethics Commission based on what they sent you because you asked them a specific question and they just really, really broad.
Right.
If they want to provide a clarification, that's fine. But if I don't agree with it, or if anybody else doesn't agree with it, I think we need to get an actual opinion from the Commonwealth Attorney.
I agree with that. I think.
And that's, and you know, I haven't worked any criminal cases with Mr. Jones since he's been elected. You know, Mr. Mabe, everybody in Wythe County knew Mr. Mabe for years. You know,
Right.
I understand that we need to farm that out. I don't have that personal relationship with Mr. Jones. I don't know that anybody on this board does.
Right.
But
That-
who has the final say-so? What's the Ethics Council there for? I mean, if they're not the final say-so in Richmond, then, I mean,
Ethics councils give guidance and direction, right? So it's an opinion. But the protection there, if we disagree with, my understanding is when we ask them to clarify, reconsider, it goes from the hands of one assigned attorney to either senior management or a committee of more than one attorney to kind of review that and give us another opinion. If we disagree with that, if we think it's too broad, then the next step really is to go to the Commonwealth Attorney and say, we need a clarification from you. What is or is not a conflict in this type of situation? And then the Commonwealth Attorney writes the letter really to the board member saying, I will not prosecute you if you vote this way, or if you read your disclosure before you vote on this. And that's what we need to really clarify is, I mean, we can skip the Ethics Council if you want and go directly to the Commonwealth Attorney. and say, you know, please give us a letter concerning this potential conflict, because the Commonwealth Attorney is the one who decides who gets prosecuted. If a member has a letter from the Commonwealth Attorney that says, this is not a conflict and you can proceed this way, then that's their get out of jail free card, or whatever you want to call it. They cannot be prosecuted because they're relying on that attorney that opinion from the Commonwealth Attorney. And that's where the protection is. The Ethics Council is just given more guidance to us and to Commonwealth attorneys as to what is a conflict or is not a conflict. But the real decision maker is the Commonwealth Attorney, who's the one that's going to prosecute one of the board members for the conflict. And if the board member has a letter from the Commonwealth Attorney saying this is not a conflict, then they're okay. It's not going to be a problem for them.
Does that change when a new Commonwealth Attorney comes in?
No.
That one says it is a conflict?
No, even if it came from Giles County or wherever it comes from, it is the Commonwealth Attorney opinion saying, I'm not going to prosecute John Doe for.
What I'm saying,
this
that's that Commonwealth Attorney.
Yeah,
If another one is elected, does that,
My understanding is it continues to protect the board member because they have a letter from the prosecuting attorney that I will not prosecute you for this. And if you act under that opinion, and if you're on the board for 12 or 16 years, acting under that opinion you receive from the Commonwealth Attorney, that you are protected from that prosecution.
Mr. Hale?
I agree with everything that currently is said. I also want to comment on Mr. Ball. Over my years in government statewide, there's been all kinds of rulings. Some of them have been court codified. School Board, City of Richmond, about 25 years ago, they had a school board member who also worked for the city and was on the city council. That's when Rob was in charge of running Richmond. And the court decided that this guy could vote on his own salary. Well, that really didn't make sense. And that leads me to this comment. Everybody on this side of this rail right here, every time we meet, we make decisions based on perception. Your reputation, my reputation, a lot of it is on perception. And the perception of this thing is what the rub is. Whether it's legal or not, legal is a very broad term. But the perception of voting on something for your department or your life support for you and your family, it's a perception issue. And I think that's where the Ethics Council come down, was probably on the perception side instead of on the legal side. Could you agree with that?
I could. I understand what you're saying.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
My recommendation to the board is let me seek another opinion from the Ethics Council, clarification, and then we go from there and go to the Commonwealth Attorney. That's what I'd like to do.
Well,
I'm
when
happy
you-
to follow your direction if you just want me to go to the Commonwealth Attorney.
Well, when you do it with Ethics Council, can you ask for a board of the Ethics Council to meet and discuss this instead of just one attorney?
I'll see if I can do that. But I think, my understanding, that's the process, but I'm not sure of that. I'll clarify that.
I know it was just one attorney who wrote the opinion.
Right. And whether the impression I had was she didn't really have a lot of input from other people, but when we asked for clarification, there's some committee that helps her or someone else is assigned to give us the clarification. But that's a vague speculation on my part from what I've heard from Mr. Baer describing that and what little I know about the Ethics Council. So,
That would be my recommendation, based on my conversation with VACO's legal counsel last year when we received this, and I just had an informal conversation with them and said, you know, we asked a direct question, got a very broad response back, and VACO's counsel thought that the response back from the council was probably very broad, and that was her recommendation, was to make a request for that to be reviewed, and I would include within the request that it, you know, be by a board or a group or whatever, to clarify that.
I'll do that.
Does anyone disagree with the recommendations?
No, and, you know, which, you know, I shared with Mr. Farthing, you know, my opinion, and, ultimately, I think we can see what they offer, and, anybody, anybody that thinks they have a conflict, the way I understand it, has a right to seek the written opinion of the Commonwealth.
That's correct.
Well, I agree too. I think once we get this back from the Ethics Council, we also get something from the Commonwealth Attorney's Office.
Well, if it comes back to the Ethics Council, well, I was gonna say you would assume that if it comes back one way from the Ethics Council, but you never
Commonwealth
know.
Attorney may have a
But
different
you've got
opinion.
two lawyers. Once again, you got two.
Right.
You never-
I'd still feel better for something from the Commonwealth Attorney's Office.
Could we invite the Commonwealth Attorney to come and go into closed session and discuss this, or have him come to a board meeting and discuss this with us?
Well, I think we need a clarification from the
Right,
Ethics
yeah,
Council.
after, yeah.
And then after that, sit down with the Commonwealth Attorney in closed session
As a board?
as a board and just talk about it.
I mean,
I agree with that.
and as far as my end of it, I don't know that, you talk about perception, I don't know that I'd want to do that closed session because
Okay.
of perception. I mean, that's,
Or we can do it in open session.
but
I mean, it
if,
doesn't
if we're
matter.
going to seek his opinion, it's going to be on paper anyway, so I don't, that's,
Well, I think the public knows that neither one of us hold back what we have on our mind. You're-
and the thing about it is, and Mr. Hale, what you're saying about perception is, I don't want to say, I didn't hide the fact that where I worked when I ran. As a matter of fact,
Well, I expect you got a little help from where you work.
well, I mean, everybody knows where I work, it's not like but, if people perceive it one way, then they have a right not to reelect. That's,
Under that premise, democracy works every 4 years for one day.
Ms. Lawson, do you have any comments?
I don't. Thank you.
Okay. So
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Board of Supervisors report, Black Lake District, Mr. Vaught.
Mr. Chairman, you have VDOT that came
Oh,
in. so
I'm
if you
sorry.
want-
I asked him to come in. Come on up.
what you want.
Morning.
Andy, good morning.
I'm here in place of Jeff. He's busy meeting on unfortunate budget cuts that we have to. Luckily, the budget cuts don't affect the 6-year plan. So.
Good.
But I'm here to basically just bring us up to speed on our current 6-year plan, where we're at now, and what funds we have available for
Okay.
future additions. You guys have copies of the 6-year plan?
No, we don't.
Okay, I brought you some copies.
You've got two guys right behind you there that they could give a
We
copy.
talk about Pope Road first.
Okay. Yes, on the plan.
Thank you, Andy.
it's always a good sign when they don't say where's Pope Road. When they automatically know Pope Road's on the plan, that's a good sign.
Yes, we were able to add Pope Road last year, is that correct?
When is
Okay.
it scheduled to be done?
It is,
2021.
yes, the funding will be available in 2020, which allows us to get we should be able to get started midsummer next,
2020,
not
next year.
this summer, but next, yes.
Tell those two guys right there.
Yes, so Pope Road is on the 6-year plan, and it is scheduled, the funding will be available in 2020, which allows us to get started next summer, midsummer.
Midsummer,
Yeah.
this
Not-
coming year.
Not 2019, but the summer of 2020, we're going to start Pope Road.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, and that should, let me look at the distance. I think we should be able to start it and finish it in 2020. Depends on how early in the summer they can start the route. But you're soon to be out of the dust. So,
It's been on the 6-year plan since the late 90s. It has.
yeah, I think that,
It's been different sections of it on there,
Yeah.
but the last section has not been on there but for a couple years now, and it'll be done in 2020.
Yeah, and the reason we're able to accelerate it, so it went on 2 years ago, but we're able to get to it within 3, well, it will be 4 by next year. Is the funding that we received for Major Graham, the high-volume secondary funding, and the recreational use funding that we received for Pump Hollow allowed us to move other projects forward because we were able to keep money in the 6-year plan to use for other projects. So that, those funds helped your project to move forward, so.
And one more question, Andy, Mr. Feller, the bridge down there that got washed out, the low water bridge, do we have any indication that,
We don't at the residency level. I know that that bridge falls under the bridge division, and I'm not sure exactly how the funds are allocated and how priorities are set for bridge replacement, so I don't have any information on Simon's Bridge.
could you get us
I
some
can find out.
information and send it to Stephen where we can get it to Mr. Cox and Mr. Matthews?
Yes, I'll check with the Bristol Bridge Division and see what the status of that
Okay.
bridge is.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
let's ask county administrator to set up a meeting, and you and I go to Bristol and meet with Mr. Hamilton and see if we can get that bridge started
Okay.
and get funding for it. I mean, it's not up to, and Andy and them can get put off almost as easy, maybe easier than we can, but that thing has now been gone for what, 6 years?
6 years.
And we've come up with every proposal from a low water bridge to a temporary bridge. And because of their manual, all those are a no-show, no-go. So it's time that we, as a delegation, go up there to the district office and see what we can do to help y'all.
Okay.
Okay, that'd be good. And so what I'll do, I'm gonna do a quick run.
Clerk,
Sorry.
I want to ask one more question.
Okay,
Does VDOT get any federal money for bridges? Federal,
Yeah.
and that would again be
their
the bridge
question for them?
division call.
Okay,
yeah. They could tell you if, when, and how much they get,
okay.
but I don't have. any
Andy,
information.
example clarification. I think everybody in this room needs to know that we did not need that bridge on Miller Creek Road. But it come its time with federal money, and because it was in that slot, that perfectly good bridge had to be replaced. And with a little bit of movement, that money could have been starting money for putting that bridge back up there, but it would have took an act of federal to do it, not y'all. Is that correct in summary?
Again, that was strictly through construction in the bridge division, so I can't.
Okay.
I don't have any information that could help you on that. Okay, so 6-year plan, just a quick rundown of completed routes recently. Sharon's Drive was completed, both sections. New Bethel was completed, both sections. Crawford Road was recently completed. Nixon Road, they have started that one. They started it late last fall. They've done the grading and installed the culvert pipes. And so as soon as weather breaks, they're going to continue with that project with the base stone and surface treatment. So Nixon Road is soon, as soon as the weather breaks and they can get out there and get on it, that one's going to be completed fairly soon. Pump Hollow Road, the recreational use route is ready to start. Our contract administrator is submitting the sketch and the plan for that route for that work to begin.
Are y'all gonna be doing that, or is it gonna be contracted out?
VDOT is going to do the in-house, we're going to do the grading, the stonework, the ditching, any pipe replacement that needs to occur. And then, once the road is prepped and ready, a contractor's going to pave it. And it's going to be done. It's not a surface treatment, it's a plant mix overlay. So that is scheduled to start as soon as the weather breaks as well.
But it's listed on the 6-year plan, but it's really not a 6-year plan project, correct?
Right, the funding that would have been 6-year money that was going to this project was actually funded through the recreational use fund, so that those funds were able to stay in the 6-year plan, which actually allows us, and I'll get to that shortly, we can add some routes to the plan. And so, that one, I guess, from Hollow,
Funding over the next couple of weeks, we have funding in place to, when we've got the funding, we just need to be able to charge. That's our last process, and we'll start with
and so that will be complete this year as well. Miller's Creek, this section, we just started late last fall on that one. They started the ditching work. They've installed a couple pipes. I think they still have a pipe or two to install. And then they'll move to the base stone and surface treatment of that addition.
Do you know where it is on the startup schedule in the spring?
There again, as soon as we get decent weather where we're not threatened by any
The sign
more.
just went up.
Yeah,
Let's talk about Miller's Creek just a minute. This is the easiest part, this next section from where it ends up to Smith Road.
Mhm.
Do y'all have the capability with this, what is it, 114,000 or 140-some thousand? Y'all need a bigger printer, Randy, or my eyes are getting really bad.
I agree.
How much money's in there for Miller's Creek?
114.
There's very little drainage gonna have to be added on that piece. Because, did you charge this recent work to that, or was that normal maintenance?
Yeah, that was normal maintenance. That was
Okay,
outside of this,
So we still got 114,000
yes.
for,
Short of what he's already spent on the ditching he's already started. He's already been charging to the project, but,
okay, but with y'all's ability with 114,000, can it go on beyond that intersection? And if the bridge division has done their part, is there any possibility that it'll go across those two new pieces of work? The bridge is washed out and is still under temporary, excuse me, y'all call them a bridge now, but a structure. If that gets done, can that money go on and help protect that and that curve where you just did the work, great work you did up there at, gas line crossing? If the money's there, can they go on and take this surface treatment that far?
if the money's there, and that would be at the, at the mercy of you guys. I mean, if you wanted to use the additional funds to continue, and I don't know how far that distance is. We'd have to measure it. Is it about 2/10 of a mile?
About 300 yards, 400 yards at the most, but it would take care of those two big water problems. And that one's in a curve, so you know what happens to a gravel road and high speed, they kick all the gravel out. But that should take care of that problem, what y'all have engineered there at that gas crossing. If we can prevail upon the owner to go on and put a pipe in there. I talked to him this past week, and he said he's gonna come and rebuild that fence, but it's on his 6-year plan too.
Okay.
The barbed wire is doing the job because there's no cattle in there.
Right. But yeah, these rural rustic routes, we build those in-house, and it costs about $200,000 per mile. And so this being 0.6, and we've got 114 in there, that's a pretty close estimate. But sometimes, when we have minimal grading and minimal sloping to do, minimal ditching and minimal.
And the work you've already done under maintenance.
Yeah, a lot of times we will have funds left over, but I can let you guys, Stephen, you can talk with Jeff about that.
Well,
and
when
you
does
can-
that next piece come up on your schedule? Again, I can't read it.
It's 21, 22.
See, it's close. And that's a little short piece, that's a troublesome piece, but that would put it up to Heather, and that's almost to that new slab up there.
Right. Yeah, if we come in under the budget and the money and the funding's available, and you guys want to do that, I'll get Stephen to talk with Jeff about it, if it makes sense to do it and the funding's there, I don't see why.
And you're already mobilized. If the bridge people will get out of your way, do you know where that decision is? The structure people, on that one that blew out and they put it back temporary?
I don't, you heard me? I don't. That's something else I can check with bridge folks on.
Now, go back to Major Graham for just a minute. Where is that scheduled? Is that gonna be local? That money was last year, and we didn't get through it, so is it high on the get started list?
Yes, that's another one we were able to get other funding, the high volume secondary funding. And we had applied for 300,000, which is 300,000 is what we got to do the last section.
And then you got more this time.
Yeah, and this time they actually gave us 500,000, so we're able to add.
Same question though. My opinion, based on what we've done, unless plank mix goes sky high, that should put it past the mansion. And will that 500,000 go as far as it'll go coming on toward Red Hollow Road?
Yeah, we're gonna spend it as far as we can go with the
So if
500,000.
it gets up that hill, that would help a bunch.
It goes up the hill, doesn't
It
It-
goes over the hill?
it? Yeah, it
Good.
crosses it.
Now, the
He can-
last question, can we schedule this with local maintenance if they're doing it, to, if possible, get out of there before the pumpkin trucks run?
I'm sure we'll be finished before the pumpkins start running.
Good.
Because what we're doing again on this one is Donnie's crews, our in-house crews are doing all the prep work, all the foundation, the piping, ditching, sloping, and preparation. And then paving contractor's gonna come in and pave it.
And we should be already scheduled in their schedule.
Yeah, yes.
All right, and again, thank those guys for doing a good job. The whole thing is, it seems like this winter, we've spent a lot of time ditching and cleaning up and blowing out some pipes that we hadn't seen for 20 years, hadn't seen them work. And
Yeah, we've had record rainfall, it's just,
that record rainfall really helped get some attention on drainage.
yeah, it did.
Last thing, you and I gotta take a road trip. I've got more complaints on Pepper's Ferry Road. When can you schedule us taking a road trip?
Anytime.
Okay.
You just give me a call and we'll work out a time and I'll
A lot of
I'll drive you around.
unhappy people, but they're willing to pay for what it takes to fix it, so.
Okay. And I guess, I don't know if you've been through there lately, but we fixed the bridge approach on both sides of this bridge on 610 right there past
That's
Grouse.
one of them we gotta look at. She's willing to pay for the pipe. How do you do that? We turned the water into her field, and we know we can't do that. So she's willing to pay for the pipe there at that gate that is now a dam. The water runs down that really nice new ditch till it gets to her gate, and then it turns it into her 2-acre meadow there. And she called me last night, and the conversation lasted an hour about that bottom. But she's willing to buy a 20-foot of pipe. How do you do that,
Is this a residential entrance?
No, well, if you call an ag entrance a residential
Still,
entrance.
still.
If she buys a pipe and it's a dry ditch, we can install it.
Well, but I mean, how do you do that? Does she have to actually put the pipe on site?
Yes, sir, she would have to purchase it and put it somewhere where hopefully it wouldn't be stolen, and we would schedule the work for them to do everything.
Okay, so if I go get the pipe for her, put it inside the gate, y'all will get to it. Then that would let that new ditch get to the creek instead of turning it into her field.
Okay, yeah, so we can look at that, and Pam does all of our entrance
And then
permits.
I've got one on out the road we gotta look at.
Okay,
Thank you.
yeah, so just give me a call.
All right.
Okay, so we've already gone Miller's Creek, Major Graham's. Then upcoming after Major Graham's, and these projects will be coming up in 2020, spring of 2020. And maybe, we may be able to start them late this fall, but I can't promise that. But Mount Airy Road is next on the plan, and that
That'll
one,
be when?
that one, it's possible that we can start it late this fall.
But it's scheduled for 2020.
It's
Yes.
scheduled for
That's-
next year.
Scheduled for 2020.
That's what I'm putting down, 2020.
And so you can, basically, you can say it's gonna be completed in 2020. And then after that one, Wilkins Lane is next. That one's, again, scheduled for early 2020. And then Pope Road in 2020. And then, as you can see, as the list goes on, I won't go all the way through 21 and 22, but you can see the priority order, Back Road, then Glade Road, the little 4/10 of a mile section on Glade Road, that's a gravel there, Gullion Fork, there's a point, just almost 2/10 of a mile section of Gullion Fork that we're looking at. Hogback Road's coming up, Jonestown, Kings Chapel. And I won't go through the whole list, you guys can see it there. And so with that said, we still have, and I think this is due to the fact that the high-volume secondary funding came in and the recreational use funding came in on those two routes. We have 390,712 available to add just under 2 miles of routes to the to this secondary plan.
When are we going to discuss that?
Yeah, we can, it's open for discussion now. And I will tell you, I have received a couple requests from Stephen. One was Paintown Road. We went out and reviewed that route. It's a 1 mile dead end route off of 607. It does qualify. We can build it rural rustic.
But it's not in the 6-year plan now.
No, it's just a proposed route that Stephen asked.
What's the name of that?
Where is
Paintown. It's about 3 miles from 52 on 607.
Yep.
Castleton Road.
Oh, you said Paintown.
Yeah, Paintown.
Okay.
So Paintown Road it's a 1 mile dead end route. And it qualifies for the 6-year plan for a rural rustic build.
Okay.
While we're on that surplus, let's don't let that money get away. You've got 300 and some thousand.
Yeah, 390. That gives us just under, based on the 200,000 per mile estimate for rural rustic builds, we've got just under 2 miles we can add to the
I'm
6
gonna
year.
ask the board that next little section of Mill Street be added in. That takes it from Smith Road through this new construction, these two know what I'm talking about. And we'll take it up to Heather, and that will
It's
move it.
currently in there.
Well,
Yeah, it's
no,
on the
it's not
plan.
in there. It's in there. I'm just asking you to move it up to now while you got the surplus. Just move that one ahead, so while you're up there, we could do economy to scale and get that much of it knocked out, and then nothing else would happen till that far off piece happens. Are you following what I'm saying, Andy?
Yeah, but it
Yeah.
takes board action to move anything up on the 6-year plan.
Yeah, but he's just told us he's got the money.
Yeah, but it's still, to move anything up, it still
Okay,
takes
I'm
board
asking for
action.
board action on it, because it's a good economy to scale project.
But there's two things. One, you could take action now. Two, you could look at the roads you're going to add and then rediscuss the priority order of which way you want to do these. Because, and I think there's only been one occasion that I'm aware of, we have moved priorities before, but it was basically 2 roads in Eddie Hagee's district at that point in time that he bumped one up above the other one, and it didn't affect anybody else.
One of them happened to go right in front of his house.
No, this was not on that project, not on that one. But, yeah, this, to do this would mean that you could either adjust it when you're doing your 6-year plan, which is part of what we're doing today, is give him roads to look at. Paintown Road was one of them. Brushy Mountain Road is a road that has been mentioned to be looked at, and whatever roads you all want to look at to see in there. But that doesn't make, what you're talking about, Mr. Earl, doesn't make any difference on the $390,000, because that road that you're talking about is already in the 6-year plan.
And it's already in priority order.
It's already in
And
priority order.
what I'm talking about here, this 390, is to be able to it allows us to add roads to the very back of the plan, on the 6-year plan. So Miller's Creek would still be ahead. All the roads that are in the plan now in priority order, that order doesn't change.
But do they all move ahead, or does that 300,000 go to the end? That still means it's not gonna be spent this year.
He's not talking about money he's got to spend this year. He's talking about money to add to the 6-year plan.
The
On
savings,
the
that
back
money
end.
will be gone to the,
Yeah.
to the end,
Yeah.
to the roads added.
Yeah.
The money he was just talking, the roads he's talking about speeding things up, and that is the schedule for the savings from Pump Hollow and the major Graham
Graham
Road.
Road.
And in essence, they actually they've all moved up because of that funding is no longer being taken out of the 6-year plan. So what's happened is this 390,000 is now back on the backside.
But it don't show on this chart of moving them up.
Right.
That was approved last year, you're correct.
Right.
What he's got now is
Okay.
what was approved
All
last
right,
year.
as
Yes.
long as
Yeah.
this chart is updated,
Yeah.
we're getting to where I wanna get.
Yeah, they will be
Yeah.
bringing in a
Okay.
new 6-year plan draft to us. The question been asked now is, at the end of this plan, what roads do you all want to have looked at to add to?
Good.
And
If this was current, I wouldn't have had the question.
Yeah, this was current in 2018, but now that we've had this recreational funding and the high-volume funding come in,
So
and,
it's about $700,000, isn't it?
right, so that helped, that's where part of this 390 came from. So it's going on the back end of the plan, and what happens now is, the routes that you've had us review, we want to, get you guys to add whatever route you'd like to add to the backside of the plan, and then they will update this for 2019.
Okay.
Well,
And I'm gonna start off with Mr. Vaught.
I brought up Brushy Mountain, and it's is it a half a mile, 6/10?
Yeah, and I reviewed that route, and it does qualify as well.
And if you're not familiar with it, it's a really nice road up to where everybody lives.
Dennis,
And it really does, everybody lives on the end where it's dirt.
and it's a dead-end route as well, and it makes good sense for that one, for that route. So, Paintown qualified, Brushy Mountain qualified, and then, it's been a while, it's been a couple of years since you mentioned this one, and then we had a citizen mention it to us the other day, Sheffytown Road, Route 646, it's between 619 Huddle Road and 642 Mule Hill, but it's 2.1 miles. But, we've checked that route, and it would qualify for a 6-year, roll rusted,
What's traffic count on?
120.
And I think what I'd request is get all these roads in and then let them bring them back to us if they qualify, and then you all can set the priorities when you look at them, because a 1 2-mile road may take up all of
It'd
your
take it all, yeah.
funding, and you may wanna do others. Or you may wanna do like they did Pope Road and do sections at a time.
And so at this point, and then you're probably, I guess you're getting ready to say that, I would just take requests from all you guys for routes that you'd like us to review.
Okay, you've got Mr. Vaught.
Yes, Brushy Mountain.
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Lester.
One I've got Sheriff Road, I believe.
It qualifies. Route 600, yes, it qualifies for a 6-year plan as well. And I think that one's 1.4 miles, and it's a through road. It's not a dead end. So it's, and it would be an easy roll rusted.
Ms. Lawson? Ms. Lawson, you still with us?
Yeah, I'm sorry, had you on.
Do you have anything, request for the 6-year plan?
I don't at this time, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Hale?
Yeah, I'd like to, continue adding back in more of Miller's Creek. Another 2 miles would put it across the troublesome Peak Creek crossing. What you've already got in there would put it beyond, Linehart's property, and would put it across that bad crossing where Peak Creek blows the road out.
All right, and I have reviewed Miller's Creek for
It all qualifies.
4, I think I've gone 4.5 miles from 610 and it all qualifies for rural rustic build, so.
If you add that 2 miles, you'll be beyond the 4.5. But I thought originally that you had approved all of Mill Street,
Yeah.
all 7.4 miles of it, which really I would be opposed to, because there's no permanent residence past the intersection of, what is that Forest Service Road, 704 on y'all's books. There's no one lives even close to there. So why would we ever currently think about putting surface treatment where people don't go and don't live? I mean, it's generally people that don't have a driver's license or on a 12-beer tour. So, you know, right now, I just like to see us stop where the population stops. That just makes sense to me.
All right.
2 miles would do it to Peak Creek.
Mr. McRoberts.
Hangtown Road is in my district. The road that, I've had some questions, and we went and looked at it. The road that's right across from Hangtown Road,
Scratch gravel.
scratch gravel. I've had lots of questions about it, but I don't think it qualifies for rural rustic.
Yeah.
It's got right-of-way problems, hasn't it?
Yeah, and that's due to the steep slopes on, cut slope and fill slope. With the rural rustic program, we have to have the width already in place to be able to work with. So basically what happens on routes like scratch gravel is they go into what would be a construction project, which is outside of the funding for a 6-year plan.
Well,
Let me help Coy out a little bit. If he did what we did on Archer Road, then can it get in the 6-year plan?
Archer Road was so on the borderline of being a rural rustic, we didn't have to do much to
Just that little
do
bit
that.
on,
But with scratch gravel, there's some significant work that would have to be done, which would require purchasing right away and just more work involved in doing a project like that than the rural rustic plan or rural rustic program would allow.
okay, then, Dry Pond Road, I would like to see it up to the top of the hill anyway, because we've got a lot of scuba schools in now that it's dangerous if it's.
Have you reviewed that one? Does it qualify? So Dry Pond would qualify for rural rustic.
That's all.
Mr. Horny.
I'm pretty sure everything I'm gonna tell you's already been checked and they've all not qualified. But I'd like to at least look at them and see if there's like sections or something that we can do on maybe part of it. First would be Greasy Creek Road. We've had lots of complaints about it over the years. Ward Branch Road, Zion Church Road, and Kaiser Road. And I'm pretty sure that they've all been looked at and said they won't qualify for rural rustic.
What about the road with Lloyd Land Road? She did ask me about it one time. She needs to talk.
Great.
Which road does she live on?
Porter Road, Shirley.
One that comes out on Sharon's Drive from Cedar Springs.
It's either Porter Road,
Porter,
Gray
Gray
Branch Road, or
I think it's Porter.
I think it's Porter also.
You said Greasy Creek, Ward Branch, Zion Church, what was the next one?
Kaiser. They're all right there together.
Porter Road is the other one.
All right, and I'm pretty sure we have reviewed these. I'll have to go back and check through my list and see. And so,
I was just wondering if there's, I mean, like, Zion Church Road, when you first come off of 21, it seems to me like, at least when you first come off of 21 to the top of the hill could be done. I mean, it's a pretty wide road up through there. I would think that would help with some maintenance problems.
okay, we'll look at
Just
those.
section, parts of it maybe.
And so with that said, I have, on this list, I have Paintown Road, Brushy Mountain Road, Sheffytown Road, Sherritt's Road, Miller's Creek, a 2-mile addition, Dry Pond Road, then Greasy Creek, Ward Branch, Zion Church, Kaiser Road, and Porter Road. And with that said, the Greasy Creek, Ward Branch, Zion Church, Kaiser, and Porter, I'll have to review and get back. I'll send an email to Stephen, let him know yes or no on those, as far as qualifying for 6-year. The rest of them are all yeses, so I guess once I get that information to Stephen on your routes, then it's basically, it's up to you guys which 2 miles you want to add to the plan.
And we will-
Sounds like we got a whole lot longer list than we got money to do.
Yeah,
And we will need to be having a public hearing on the adoption of that plan. So we want to aim for either the May night meeting or the June night meeting, although you've got to have it in before June 30th each year.
Will we be having a budget public hearing in May
Yes.
at the night meeting? So can we do it in June?
Well, if y'all just confirm your off time frame as well, that wouldn't dates, time's got to be in here, that's probably when we'll do it. I don't think we need to set it right now. I think we've got time to, we'll get the numbers back from them and look at it and see.
Yeah,
We
we-
can do it both at the May meeting, really. If we get it back in time.
and we can provide the information on Mr. Horny's routes fairly quickly, so you guys can have some time to work through the process.
I'm pretty sure y'all have already looked at them half a dozen times.
Okay, is that all we have for the 6-year plan?
6-year plan, I've got one more thing
Okay.
besides, not on the 6-year plan.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna jump off the 6-year plan then.
Okay.
Good.
Everybody
Okay.
good with that?
Want to talk about Route 749, the guardrail that you had mentioned, the need for. Our contract administrator, Todd Henderson, and I went out, we measured that section, and we agree with you that there should be a guardrail there. So Todd worked up an estimate for us. It's $14,173.46 to install 250 feet of guardrail with 2 GR9s, one on each end. And we can use the Wythe County safety money to do that. We still have a remaining balance of 52,000 and change in the safety funding. And we could use, that would be a good use of that 14,000.
And I will defer this to Mr. Horny here. He is one that brought this up and made the request. This is quarter of a mile or so past Speedwell on the right. It's where it drops off a cliff, and Andy went out there and looked at it. And after looking at it, I think they will agree it's a dangerous area. It's an area where a county employee went through a fence and then ended up going down over the cliff about 10 years ago, I guess it was, and died at that scene. So it is, Mr. Horny brought it up, and I'll let you comment on it.
I've just had a lot of people complain about it, and I mean, Stephen brings up the employee that died there, but I mean, I don't know that the guardrail would have been out far enough to kept him from going into the field he went into.
Right.
But if he'd have been down the road a little bit farther, he would have hit guardrail instead of going into the field. Cause that one section down there, I mean, you could almost just run out of the road if you met somebody and still end up in the creek.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
And it's
pretty well-
about 80, at least 80 feet straight
pretty
off.
well straight off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
I mean, do we need a motion to do that, or?
What action do you all need? It's in your all's budgeted money. What action do you
Yeah,
need?
just let us know that you want to do it.
I would recommend a motion, Mr. Horny.
I would make the motion that we do that then.
have a second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Opposed?
Aye.
All right.
Thank you, Ms. Lotson.
And
Before,
we have a guardrail contract in place, so basically from this point, I'm gonna contact Todd when I get back to the office, and he'll go ahead and submit the order for this work to be done.
okay, I wanted,
We'll bring up
Mr.
there.
Matthews and Mr. Cochran getting ready to leave. Mr. Matthews had a section on Pope Road that he is wanting you to look at as far as guardrail. Mr. Matthews, can you explain which section of Pope Road?
About a mile out on Pope Road, at the old farmhouse there, where the road goes up along the creek. That section there, when you come down on that, right off the road there, Cook Creek. And there's nothing there to to stop anything from going over the bank. If you go over the bank, you're gonna hit the trees or you're going in the water.
And how far is this from, how far is it from Collins Cove?
Huh?
How far is that from Collins Cove?
It's about 100 yards, in that S turn in there, I'm talking about, in front of that big old two-story, farmhouse.
I think I know where you're talking about. In the, right at the edge of the road drops straight to the
It's
creek.
right, down from Bear Lane, what I'm talking about.
It's
This
in
past
front of,
December, when the snow first came down, my son-in-law was going out towards Ivanhoe.
it's in front of Herman
And on
Pope's.
that first turn there where the old barn fell down and everything, he got about 2/3 way around the turn and the truck went straight, went over the bank, hit 2 trees, done over around $12,000 worth of damage to the truck. Nothing to, along this section there, it's nothing to stop anything if it goes off the shoulder road from going over the bank. And I think, even to, get used, railroad ties and stake them down along there for something that would catch your wheel, you know, and stop the vehicle from going over would be a real, good thing to do.
You know where
Is this from 94 or 619? Are you coming off Ivanhoe Road or Public Road?
It's on.
It's on, Pope Road from, 94 going towards Speedway. It's
Is it,
about a mile out. It's right down below Bear's, Lane.
You know where Andy lives,
Bear Lane.
Andy
Bear's
Shocker.
Bear Lane.
it's on the paved section though, right?
It's on the,
Yeah, that's what I thought.
it's about a mile out.
You're thinking, I think Andy was thinking more up towards Collins Cove on
Yeah,
the
it's on
steep
that
bank. Yeah, I know where you're talking about.
And also, the dreams is all stopped up along the Pope Road, it's never been cleaned out. And that's supposed to be done.
He's gonna make a note of that too. We'll get our area headquarters to go out and look at that, see what's going on there.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Cox, Ms. Matthews.
Mr. Fowler, talking about the, guardrail in Cedar Springs, reminded me of this. It's amazing how much you look at roads once you get on this board. The plant mix asphalt that you guys use, it seems like it's, you know, Cedar Springs, Grayson Turnpike, where y'all paved recently, it just doesn't seem like it's holding up like old blacktop used to. I mean, blacktop would stay, be in good shape for years, and then occasionally you get a pothole. Is it because the technology's changed, and, I mean, what do you guys do to monitor that?
I think part of the issue is they use recycled milled material, that old pavement that's been milled and recycled, and they reuse it. Those sections, were those done through the Bristol District
Brian?
paving plan?
Cedar Springs.
Those done through the patching contract. So, I mean, I don't know I can't give you the exact reason. We've noticed some areas, we just repaved 619 recently, and that pavement's already failing. And that was scheduled to be repaired. So, I don't know the exact reason why we're having it seems like what's a lower quality pavement than what we've had in the past. But I know that they are looking into it. Jeff Russell has been looking into and enforcing with all of our folks that are out there paving to make sure that we use tack before we install the pavement overlay, to make sure that we get a good bond between the old pavement and the new pavement. And so we're trying to work through any issues that we have had to provide a better product.
And I mean, it just seems like it doesn't last as long as it used to, and like I said, I didn't know if it was some environmental issue that, you know, you're using recycled pop bottles. I mean, you know, I,
Yeah,
I grew up on a dirt road. I'm still learning this pavement thing.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's just my opinion. I think that is part of the reason is the recycled pavement. And I'm not sure if it's I'm not sure if it's as good a quality of material as the pavement we've had in the past, so. But hopefully we can work through that and work out the bugs and provide a good product.
And the only thing I have, Andy, is where's we at on the schedule as far as Painter Hill Road having it resurfaced?
They must have used some of that over there, cause they ain't repaved in 30 years. Ain't no paving there.
It's awful rough
Dave takes care of our paving schedule for Witt County.
It's on schedule this summer.
this summer. Okay, thank you.
And then just a quick note, spoke with Stephen about this on Grouse Ridge Road. Do you want to bring us up to speed on the utility poles and the gas?
Yeah, just, where we are on it, there's a couple things going on. We have received the estimates, last week from the utility companies, AEP and, CenturyLink for relocating, the power lines, which there were two options they had, and that was basically to go underground, from near Meadowview Estates Road all the way down through the dip and back up on the other side. The other option they looked at, going cross-country and trying to get new easements and clear new right-of-way to come out on Meadowview Estates Road. The estimate is in the range of $90,000. So we will be putting that calculation into the tax estimate of what we had. I think the original estimate we had on the road was about $25,000 in utility relocation costs. So we'll rerun the estimates and look at the cost change that it would take on the tax district, whether it means increasing the tax district or increasing the tax district out to additional number of years. Has been discussed that before. Secondary to that, the gas line currently has an easement that runs through there where the gas line, where the road would cross the gas line. VDOT would need documentation signed by the gas company, and you can give me the correct terminology, but I'll say basically that their easement is subservient to VDOT's easement in that area. So I don't think that will be any issue to get that executed with them, but that documentation will need to be done also.
Yes, basically VDOT would have to have primary right-of-way.
But we met out on site with the gas company and the AEP, and there's just not enough room to move the poles. And AEP's easement, excuse me, the gas company's easement actually is not 50 foot centered on the gas line. It's actually 35 feet to the south and 15 feet to the north, and that hurts us even more in the process. So underground is really about the only option we have, and to get it in.
Okay.
I spoke with one of the lead residents out there of the project and told them that we would be running those numbers and get in touch with her, and if we needed to schedule another meeting back out at the church to let everyone know we would be doing that.
And I did bring something to Stephen this morning on another one, Dyer Road, request for that
Dyer Road in Fort Chiswell and in
Barron Springs.
Barron Springs. It's right across from Reed Creek Drive on Route 100. It's a dead-end road, runs towards Pulaski. They would like for that one to be considered for a revenue sharing project. I'll pull the plats and everything. I think it's more than old enough to meet the requirements. I don't know the distance. I would say if it's 3 or 4 tenths of a mile, I'd be surprised. That's one we'd like to run some figures on and look at it.
Is that road in Fort Chiswell District?
It's above the river, so I would say it's probably Fort Chiswell District.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was.
Anything else anybody got for, yes, Mr. McRoberts?
Yeah, I have one. Rextown Road, right before you get to Powder Mill, up that little old incline there. They passed it several times. Don't stay in there long. Right there, right, you turn right there where y'all put the pipe in under the roof.
All right, we'll get,
I think the rest of the road's in pretty good shape, other than that one little spot, I don't know, maybe a spring in there or something causing all the problem.
all right, we'll have the area headquarters look into that too.
Anything else for VDOT?
Can you have them check, Fleming Road?
For 6-year plan?
No, just for scraping and gravel. I know there was a spot in between my sister's house and my daughter's new house that everybody was swerving to the right and they was just making it worse and worse and worse and worse.
All right,
I don't know if they fixed it or not. I haven't been up there for a while.
check into that one too.
Anything else for VDOT? Yes.
Mr. Hill, before you buy a pipe, or before your property owner buys a pipe on Route 610, Peppersberry, let me go look at it, and I'll be back in touch, and we'll talk about pipe demand, or
She said that y'all had already told her 18 inch is what she was willing to buy. If she didn't know how long, I told her 20 feet for a gate entrance is what y'all normally require. It's a straight pipe to get it to the creek.
okay.
Okay, anything else? Mr. Fowler, thank y'all. Andy, thank y'all.
Thank y'all. We wasn't too rough on you, was we?
Okay, there are a couple items I want to
We'll
take.
save the rough part for when Jeff comes back.
I'll just tell Jeff you're hard on.
There are a couple items I want to take care of. We'll take about a 5-minute break. New business, consent calendar. I entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Have a second. Have a motion, a second, to approve consent calendar. Anything any board member would like to discuss on the consent calendar?
Mr. Chairman, I'll be abstaining. There is a comp board raise where I'm listed, along with several others, but I'll be abstaining from that.
Okay. Any others? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Horny,
Aye.
Abstain.
Ms. Lawson,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Next item is fiscal year 19 fourth quarter appropriation. Entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
Have a second. Have a motion and a second to approve the fourth quarter appropriations. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Vaught?
Aye.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Ms. Lawson?
Aye.
Sorry about that. And the chair votes aye. Okay, our next item is a closed session. Before we go into closed session, we will take about a 5-10 minute break. Entertain a motion to go into closed session under section 2.2-3711A5, prospective business or industry, and 2.2-3711A1, personal male employment employee performance review. Have a second? Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
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 We are now in closed session.
Closed session.
I'll make that motion.
Have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second to come out of closed session. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are now out of closed session. Mr. Lester, do you want to read certification?
Whereas the Worth County Board of Supervisors has convened a closed meeting on this date pursuant to an affirmative recorded vote and in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act. And whereas Section 2.2-3712 of the Code of Virginia requires a certification by the Worth County Board of Supervisors that such a meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law. Now therefore be it resolved that the Worth County Board of Supervisors hereby certifies that, to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed in a closed meeting to which this certification resolution applies. And only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered by the Wythe County Board of Supervisors.
Okay, have a second on adopting the resolution.
Second.
Have a motion second, any discussion? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Horny?
Aye.
Ms. Lawson? And the chair votes aye. Okay, next item on our agenda is budget discussions. Mr. Bear, I don't know how long you want to take on this, or we recess until another date to further the discussion.
Well, basically what I sent to you all just, over the weekend was taking the information from the budget request, changing, a few of the things like that you all talked about, flat funding on the, JIDA, decrease on the library, leaving others that really no action was taken on, just to get an initial analysis of where we stand on this. And the salary budgets, tried to leave those as have been requested for discussions. We did get updated information since the original budget line. We have gotten the comp board numbers, so we went back and put in the 3% that is planned for the comp board employees, and then left the anywhere where supplements were requested on top of that. Mr. Vaught pointed out one yesterday, did leave off on Miss Kimberly Caudle. When we put in the 3% number, we kicked out the requested increase there, but that needs to go back in there as well for discussion. But where we stand, as I indicated in the email, is basically 1.4 million exceeding our projected revenue figures. And I showed that the amounts coming, that should be coming out of reserve. The courthouse phone system is a one-time expense of about $200,000 estimated, and I'm not planning on borrowing money for that or whatever. That would just come out of our general fund reserves to do that. The tractor, the vehicles, we typically do those out of our funds, reserve funds, let's set aside funds in the process, surplus funds. And then I added in there that was not in your budget, a Rural Retreat Volunteer Emergency Services. They are applying for a Rescue Squad Assistance Fund grant, would like the $40,000 match that we've done 3 times before. So I added that number in there for consideration. If it's approved, you've got the money in there for next year. So all of that is coming out of surplus, should come out of surplus.
How much? How much, what's that total?
That totals $330,000.
And that takes it off of that 1 point,
That takes it off to 1.4, puts it down at 1.1 million.
1.1 million. If the board is okay, I'd like to ask Mr. Burr to come up with, and we're talking about salary increases, what we can do, with our budget without increasing taxes. I don't know if anybody has any suggestions on raising taxes, but I'd like to see what we can do for each individual with what we have got. And in some areas, look at the budget, what you recommend that we can cut.
Well, and that's why I sent this out as an initial draft. This is not recommended at all. This was just where we stand. Operational cost, if you fund them out of reserves, you gotta keep funding them out of reserves until you actually raise the tax increase. So, we've got to make some decreases here, and that's, I'm not saying that it's not entirely needed. The biggest one out there is the school board's request for increase.
That's
I have,
half of it.
yeah, it's $611,000 that they're asking for. Now, we funded them, flat funded them last year at 13.1 million. Of course, they were getting, some additional state funds. The year before that, we had given them a $100,000 increase, so we kept them relatively flat for 3 years.
Yeah, but how much is the state increasing them this year?
They're getting about 500 and some $1,000 additional funding from the state this year.
And if they get what we give them, that's over $1 million increase in their budget.
So, yeah, their figure that he had in the back period of his, presentation, overall state increase of $511,000, and then, their savings putting in and needing $611 from us. But yes, they're basically looking for $1.122 million in additional funding requirements. And a lot of that's tied up with that 3% increase that goes to the SOQ positions, which doesn't even come close to covering all of their personnel.
Well,
But I do think there is some room.
Well, how much out of that $500 and some thousand they're getting from the state covered that 3% raise?
It covers for their SOQ positions only, and I can't remember the figure he said.
What I mean is any above the raises that's covered. I mean, surely, it don't take up all that money.
Well,
Let's inject one other thing, Stephen. Let's go back. Under the previous superintendent,
yes,
when they reclassified all those students to jump them from 39th in the state in education up to 7th, being a country boy, I didn't buy that from day one, and we know better. When you do that, you put more of those children in the state category that requires special education.
Requires
So-
additional personnel.
Right, and those are positions that haven't been here before, so you can't have your cake and eat it too. We can't have the 7th best in the state without adding these positions. And my way of thinking is pretty simple. We moved a whole bunch of people into a different category that requires special ed for them, and now it's time to pay for it. He explained that quite well in his presentation. The other thing was that they didn't fund, but was it 2 5/8 or something of a principal?
oh, yeah.
How do you hire 5/8 of a principal?
That's the SOQ number, that's what Mr. Walt brought up, it's crazy. You got 6 elementary schools, and the thing calls for 3-point-some principals.
Yeah.
Is that correct, elementary principals? I mean, and that's where they give 3% for 3.9 principals. You gotta give a full 3% for the other 2.1 principals.
It's like any of those budget traps the state puts you in. But my point is, if we highly tout that we want the 7th best education in the state, and we're progressive about industrial and economic development, this is part of the package, you gotta pay for it. We say we want a trained workforce, you gotta pay for it. And if we've had level funding for 3 years, and one of the other questions I asked you, what's wrong with my computer? When I got your email on budget items, I could read the deficit part, but even with my magnifying glass, I can't read the revenue part. It won't enlarge any. I need a printed copy. What is the number, historic number for our reserve fund? Is it months or is it a dollar value?
It's a dollar back, so,
And it's controlled by our bonds, right?
yes.
Okay, so where are we in that little balancing act? Well, I can't see it.
Mr. Chairman, while he looks for that, I'm gonna excuse myself.
Okay.
Hang out for these wonderful minutes.
When did we
Thank you,
close
Scott.
your clock off? That's what I'm worried about.
Right now.
Do you charge for thinking about it, Scott?
Not yet, but that's a good idea.
Thank you, Scott.
Page,
I mean, we dropped,
200 of your board package today has our general fund balance.
and we come close to that at about, what,
Usually
October?
about August,
August.
September timeframe, you are usually right at that number.
Last year, we dropped below it, but that was
That was a county glitch.
yeah.
Okay. Now,
So,
probably because Tim's gotta get to Carolina, we need another time to discuss this. But while you're preparing these numbers, how about going back, if you can, or ask Bruce to, 3 years, and compare all these numbers that are not going up any? We got a very hot economy. You can't drive up and down 81. You can't get in Denny's and get served. You can't get any food, but our food tax is not going up any. Same thing with motels. We're getting raped by these voluntary taxes.
And, you know, what Mr. Hale's saying, or said about the reserve fund, what are we reserving it for?
We have to.
We have to make our bonds.
So much,
Yeah.
Right.
but how much are we over that?
Well, I mean, at the beginning of the year, like right now, when taxes collected, we're way above that. But as we spend through the year, we drop down to almost at that level.
Well, I guess I'm talking about the, you know, everybody's, I'll use this analogy, and I've shared this with Stephen and Mr. Hale, is, you know, we talk about these, you know, personnel, these pay raises, you know, some of these salaries that we're paying while we've got that much money in reserve, it's almost like the county's a homeless person bragging to the other homeless people under the bridge about how much money we got in the bank. You know, for years it was called a rainy day fund. That's what we used to hear. You know, we're hemorrhaging employees. It's not raining anymore. It's a flat out flood.
Yeah, but if you start taking $1 million a year out of reserves, how many years is it gonna take before you drop? It ain't gonna take but a couple of years, you gonna drop below that
But
28 million.
Then you go back to what Mr. Hale said, is why is this stuff not, you know, we're doing economic development, you know, more traffic. Why is, you know, why is this revenue not increasing? And
Go to
that's
page 220 of your board package.
today's board pack, Steve.
Yes, today's board package. Page 220 shows the sales, local sales and use taxes, and that's our 1% sales and use tax. And you will see last year, we went from 2017 of 3.588 million to 3.875 million. So, we are seeing those increases, which means the economy is going better. That means more goods are getting sold. And you're seeing the increase there. And we have budgeted for some increase expected, in those
We
areas.
increased our budget number on that, didn't we?
I believe we did.
And our revenue forecast.
But that's the one that we have no control over. The state takes care of that one for us.
Yeah. The meals tax, is on page 221. And I would say in general, it has been what, as Mr. Harrell said, relatively flat. I mean, there's a chart there that shows it. And it is not decreased, but it's not really showing any increase.
Right, let's stop right there for a minute. 7 years ago, when we got those numbers from the commissioner's office and could look at them, we had one entity at exit 80 that was paying 1/8 of that total bill. And y'all tired of hearing this, and you won't have to listen to it but 10 more months, and I'll be gone, then I'll be standing up there fussing with you. But unless we do some type of audit, we're getting raped by the retailers in this county. There's $1 million, Stephen, out there that's not being paid
On meals tax?
on all taxes.
On all?
The same old has gone on all this time and nobody listened. If it means buying the commissioner a car so they can do their job, let's take one of those sheriff's cars and put a paint job on it and say, there's your tax car. We've had people right here in this audience say, I didn't know that I was supposed to be paying tax on my backhoe and my loader and my $80,000 excavator because it's not shown under personal property. They don't know. And if you don't send people a bill, they will not pay their taxes. And I'm not picking on the commissioner personally. I'm picking on the fact that we don't collect those taxes. If I could ever get my colleague over there to realize that there's $1 million out there that we're not sending the bill for, and Tim don't believe it, but it's there. Go business to business. Let me use 80 from it. I'm gonna name names. I won't. We've got 3 businesses at exit 80, and all of them are busy 24/7, and they file all their taxes under one entity. If we had the ability to look at what it's paying against a similar business, you would immediately say, there's something wrong here. You follow it? A lot of years ago, many of y'all have eaten at the New Yorker Delicatessen in Roanoke. I know you have. Out on Williamson Road. It's been there for 50 years. The IRS said, people can't go in and out there spending $40 and $50 and this guy not paying any taxes. So they committed somebody to stay there for a period of time, and he spent about 8 years in federal prison for not paying his taxes. But without an audit, you cannot depend on volunteer tax. The Romans did it at the point of a spear. And that's why it worked for them. But
And as you know, the problem is, it's not under our direct control.
well, let me ask you this, and we'll let the lawyer get away because we're charged, but why are those collections not available to you and to the board and redact the name of the business? Why is that not available under Freedom of Information Act to the governing board that funds it?
I believe you can't get that because she has provided that before. They redact the names of, if you ask for the top 10, they'll redact the names off of it. She'll send you the top 10 numbers that have come in from, the rest of us.
But doesn't that hide it though? If you took it geographically and said, what's coming in from exit 86 area, what's coming in from 80, you see 84, if you went 86, 84, 80, 77, then we'd know what we were looking at in general.
Yeah.
But if you look at the top 10 countywide,
No, I think you can request that as long as she could give you a summary total of those areas.
well, do you believe for a minute that what we've seen from going through a bad recession to where we are now, that these taxes ought to stay flat?
I mean,
The thing
it-
is, when I look at it, Mr. Hale, there's not any huge outliers that show up in their graphic scale of showing something way off in the process. There's things relatively, in a range. I think it does show the impact of what we've tried to get retail coach in here for. No new restaurants in those locations or in those areas. We're dealing with basically the similar number of restaurants. We have a few changes here and there, of a small one that goes out, another will come in its place. But, we've not landed a new restaurant at any of our exits in the mall.
That's not the point at all. The point is that they are packed with people spending money at the cash register. If you look at the national trend, we get reports from the Department of Commerce on disposable income. We see that impact-wise. We see the fact that all those people going from North Carolina to West Virginia to get their four-wheelers muddy on the weekend, they stop at 80 and 77, and I guess to north exit here, and I can't never remember that number, Tim.
70.
Where the TA is?
Oh,
41. If you watch any of those things from Thursday through Monday, now you're out there, hundreds of people from North Carolina are going to West Virginia and playing on those trails. And they stop here and they buy their supplies here. That's just one little item. But back 7 years ago, when we got this information, that 1/8 one at exit 80, y'all can figure that one out, was paying 1/8 of our total county revenue. If I took that number today, it's still 1/8. And all these other businesses are doing well, but our tax hadn't gone up any.
Well, out of the last 5 months, we've had increases.
Say again.
3 out of the last 5 months, we've had increases.
In food tax?
The meals tax, and I'll just go from years, 2015 was 771,000, 2016 was 790,000, 2017 was 785, 2018 was 801,000. So we're up from 2015 to 2018, $30,000 in meals tax revenue.
All right, this is my last approach to sanity here. Go feed your wife at Denny's, because that's about the only choice we got, and look at how much you're paying every time you go in there. Those numbers do not make sense. I mean, I'm not a mathematician, but I do arithmetic pretty good.
And Joe, I understand what you're saying, but if you want to have that conversation, we need the Commissioner of Revenue up here to talk to her about it, because that's in her purview.
Okay.
And I guess we need to get receipts if they're not adding up, if they're adding up the amount of taxes being put on, don't include the meals tax, then we need to show them to her.
Do we need?
We've done that. And haven't I done that with you, or was that with Dalton?
You did with Dalton on that, and they got some of those correct. You gave me one that's got a tax in town that's showing the county tax.
Right.
Which I think
But, this affects Rural Retreat, and it affects the county. And there's a complementary business there that I beat this one to death. But the law says any prepared food on site, they're supposed to pay sales tax on it, or food tax on it. That does not happen. We can go do an experiment, take off our tie, and we can go to Fort Chisholm, and we can go over and we can all have lunch. And if we go up to that counter to pay out through the checkout, we will not be charged food tax.
Well, I mean, I guess the thing is, do you want to get the commissioner to see what it would take to get an auditing firm to come in here and put additional money in her budget to have some audits done of these taxes. I mean, it's,
Yeah, but, you know, I'm not saying a blank check.
yep.
What does an audit cost? I don't know.
That type of audit.
I don't either, 'cause that means boots on the ground, not shuffling numbers. Okay, I'm done. You wanna go to North Carolina, I'm sorry about that. Bad scheduling.
Well,
I've got to feed first, but I have got to be in North Carolina at 4:30.
Doug, there's a balance there. I understand what Mr. Vaught is saying about reserve funds, and that's why I certainly look at reserve funds coming out for certain capital improvement projects and costs and one-time expenses. And I think that as long as you've got the reserves, as long as you're staying above the minimum, that is a good use of those funds. I do not recommend getting into regular operational costs coming out of reserve funds, because somewhere down the road, somebody's got to pay for it. And that's a little bit of where we are right now. I mean, we have a low tax rate, and you look at the neighbors around us and everything else, and it's because we have kept the like what Mr. Vaught's talking about. You've got some lower salaries is the biggest thing that you've got between school boards and counties and everything else, and those are continual costs. And, trying to bring those up is an annual cost that you know you're gonna occur on and on in the process. So, you know, it's not an easy budget to make cuts on, but I have asked the school board to look a little closer at their budget. Their health insurance savings don't pan out on the paper budget that's handed out. It's just, you know, I asked them, I said, you know, y'all said you're saving $78,000. My calculations show on health insurance line items throughout their entire budget. Remember, they got it elementary teachers and regular teachers and high school teachers, whatever else. It's coming up at a higher figure there. So obviously they gotta show new positions, all that in there, but I'm not saying there's intentional built-in fluff, but there's some funding in there, that I think we can have some discussions about. But I do think the school system, from what we found in the last 2 years, and with the 5% increase in salary over the last 2 years of the biennium, there are some additional funds that they need. And, I'm more than welcome to sit down with the school superintendent and try to talk with him a little bit about it, and see what areas we can get by with. But $600,000 is really more than what we talked when we had our budget committee talking about the increase in our local revenues and where we stood on that. The next thing you get into are, large cost items and general cost items are new positions. That goes for the assistant county administrator position, that goes for moving our part-time, person at the, animal shelter up into a full-time position, to those all the way through. The salary supplements, you know, would need some guidance. The sheriff has asked for salary supplements for those constitutional officers. The treasurer has asked for 2 for the county-funded positions to bring those salaries up. But in bringing those up, you can't bring in a new person at a higher salary than what some of the existing people are out, so you gotta bring those up a little bit in the process. And, I've got some numbers recommended on it, but that's not cost savings. The $115,000 in supplement to the sheriff's office is a large amount in there, as well. And, right now, where we are with the revenue budget, some of those things are gonna have to be cut. And so, I just wanted to talk to you all today, after you all had a chance to see the numbers, to see where you are, to see, any guidance, any recommendations you all had, prior to me just starting to go through here and make recommendations to you all, in the next week or so.
Well, let me ask you a question about that. It looked like to me that the police activity fund is beginning to build back up. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
Well, while you're talking to people, see what the sheriff can do to help not take so much out of the general fund. Why does the police activity fund need to be that big? It got down real low, dangerously low. It looks like to me, that it's doing pretty good. I don't see as many deputies on the interstate as I used to. Maybe I'm just not driving enough. I know that Carroll County must be living off the interstate now because all of their cars are on the interstate. But it looks like to me that the police activity fund is built back up, so if we're gonna talk to the schools, maybe you ought to talk to the sheriff.
I mean, from when it got to its low point, there's been a lot of costs that have been shifted, and correctly so. With what was getting charged, everything out previously, there was a whole lot of administrative, office supplies and all those things, there was a lot of charges. When that change was made back up, I guess that was probably the 2016 budget year, 2017 year, before Mr. Dalton left, that added about $400,000 or $500,000 that had been coming out of the coming out of the police activity fund, back to coming out of the general fund.
Well, it also coincided with when Doug left.
Yep. Then, then last year, the sheriff made a request for the police activity fund to no longer fund the school resource officers. So that was a little bit in excess of the $200,000 budget that was coming out of the police activity fund then, that is now coming 100% out of the general. There's been a decrease of expenditures on the police activity fund over the last few years, and that's why it's had the ability to start growing, in my opinion, a transfer of those funds.
Around 700,000.
But I'll be glad to talk
How
to
many,
the sheriff.
how many positions are they funding now out of the police activity fund?
To be honest with you, I don't even know anymore.
Police
There's been-
activity-
there's
I know they cut them down.
Well, they cut some of those positions down but, I mean, the way people are coming and going, I honestly don't know. I seen a guy the other day had a brand new uniform on, I assume we hired him.
Yeah, it's in the consent calendar.
Yeah, but that's how I found out.
You think armbands might be in order, whether they're coming or going?
No, I really did have one ask me for a key to a car, and I looked at him and I go, "Who are you?" And I think he was a little offended, but I was like, "I'm not handing somebody I don't know a key to a police car."
I seen one the other day, I don't believe he wasn't £125. He was a deputy, get a deputy uniform.
Currently on
Yeah.
the current salary scale I'm looking at, he's got 6 in there currently, 6 deputies, and next year is looking at 7 deputies there. Now, that could be that the one spot is vacant right now in the process, but that's, the 7 is what's in there for the number of deputies next year.
How many he required to have?
Well, these are all extras. These are all police activity funded positions. These, originally started under, what was the old plan, COPS Universal?
The COPS Universal grant, Corey, what you were asking is, as far as what comes from the comp board, is supposed to be 1 deputy per 1,500 people. They haven't fully funded that since 2008, and I brought that up when we were in Richmond. You know, how can the governor get on TV and brag about the surplus that Virginia's got when they're not taking care of what they should be funding by the code? And I thought maybe with the surplus, they would fund those positions, but as of now, no.
Well, and it's both sides of the General Assembly that that won't put money in the comp board to fund them positions.
Because they know that the localities will do it.
Does the rest of the counties, they follow their guideline?
The
They have
one
to.
deputy per 1,500, that is the state that's the state formula of the money that they give from the comp board.
I think it's different in Northern Virginia, ain't it? Different in Fairfax.
It may be. And you know, and when I first, and here's the problem with the comp boards, when I first started, they gave so much money for gas, so much money for tires, all that. And now, only thing they give pretty much is salary
That's
money.
it.
I mean, I know this is not popular with everyone, but the supplements, like the $87,500 they currently give, that was requested, by the sheriff a long time ago, needed, and helped to raise the pay in the process. They currently have, several getting PAF funded supplements, in the process, and it's, in my opinion, part of it is an incentive program as well. It gives them incentive, because they can earn up to $200,000 in overtime pay as it is out there. Not all deputies want to earn that. Some deputies would love to earn all of it in the process. But with the expenditures that have come out of the police activity fund into the general fund over the past few years, it's difficult for me in trying to balance this budget to recommend the additional funding coming out of the general fund. If the sheriff would like to include those out of the PAF supplement, with the funding coming in, then I think that's the sheriff's call with how he wants to spend that money and where it's going.
But the county's 20% would cover that, correct? Of the 80-20 split.
You could say the county's 20%. You could argue that anyway. I mean,
I'm just, that's,
yeah. You've got you could say that 20% is already covering a bunch of the expenses that we've already got in the regular budget for the sheriff's office right now. Part of that $400,000 or $500,000 that we took off the PAF a couple of years ago is coming out of that 20%. We've got a new expense this year with the law change or on the cameras. That's $47,000 that we've got to come out of, $49,000 that we've got to come out of the general fund pocket because of funding an additional Commonwealth attorney's position or another agreement with the Commonwealth attorney because of having the
Body camera.
body cameras. It just all adds up to additional expenses. And I did include that in the salary presentation. I did include that in there with it. But unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, it's just, there's some hard choices to be made. There's not a lot of departments with a tremendous amount of fluff built into the budget. So Mr. Hales talked about budget creep, and budget creep happens. You got to keep it in line.
What's the 20% we get from the police activity fund? I mean, the 20% from fines, how much does that add up per year?
Basically, the
Yeah, I
number
know
I
it
sent the other
varies.
day was about 1.5 million out of that, so, about 300,000 is what we got last year. They got 1.2 million for the police activity fund last year, somewhere in that range.
So that
We've
would
been
hit our
averaging around
budget,
1.4, 1.5.
that would hit our revenue projections hard, to take that whole 20% out.
And then on the salary discussion, the positions that are in upper teens and low twenties. I've heard from all of you all, those starting scales need to come up, and so that may mean some proposal of 8 to 10%, whatever it is, to bring some of those up. That doesn't mean everybody up the scale starts getting it, but you gotta be careful that you don't
Compressed.
start crossing over people in the process. So, but that mainly hits custodians, some of the constitutional officers, starting salary positions from treasurer, commissioner, also a little bit in the sheriff's office has some low, I think, secretarial type positions, and then also circuit court type positions.
Well, you don't have any problem working out some kind of graph that if you're less than 20, you get a 10% raise. If you're between 20 and 25, you can get a 6%, to try to bring them up and not go. We're never gonna get there at this 3% thing, because the people that can't buy extra Big Mac, using Jeff Perry's opinion, but it don't help them enough to ever make that level playing field that Mr. Boss talking about, or more level. It's never gonna get level, and it shouldn't be, but it certainly don't need to be like it is and has been, unless we start giving out diplomas and rings of all these people we train and go somewhere else for a better job.
Well, whenever y'all wanna get back together, I mean, I just ask that we do it in the afternoons. I think that.
I think in the evening, we can do it in the evenings. I don't think there's no problem. I think, can't we? Does anybody have a problem with in the evenings after 4?
Ryan, what time's good
We
for
go back
you?
to school, it'll have to be after 5.
After, well, 5.
That's good.
Do what?
After 5, start at 5.
That's fine, I was trying to see what Ryan's schedule was.
I would,
Yeah, when's she coming back?
Anytime after 5 is better for me.
Well, she said not anytime soon.
but looking at the calendar for next week, I would recommend Wednesday the 3rd at 5 o'clock.
Is that suitable for everybody? How about Tuesday? 2nd? We have, can't do it Monday. And I need to tell Michelle I have a meeting Monday, and she scheduled that other meeting Monday.
The, Tuesday will work. The only thing I had on the Tuesday, I believe that is the date that Mr. Carter had sent as a possible meeting date on water. We will schedule that for another time.
Okay.
Tuesday at 5?
See if they can do it Wednesday evening.
Oh, if we're meeting after 5 there, Stephen, was their meeting gonna be at night?
They have apparently a similar situation. Their board member needs it to be 4:30 or later in the afternoon for you. So, their recommendation is either a Tuesday or a Thursday evening around 4:30.
I have a Mount Rogers on Thursday at 7. We can do it that Thursday if it's at 4:30.
We typically would have budget committee at 4 o'clock that afternoon, and that's
On the
also.
4th?
The 4th, yeah.
Do
And it's also the Mount Rogers PDC dinner that evening.
we? Yes.
That doesn't work, so we'll move that out. I'll talk to them about the 11th. But we have a
Okay.
board meeting on the 9th.
Okay.
We got building grounds Tuesday.
Should have buildings and grounds Tuesday, unless we don't have anything on the agenda. everybody get their invitations, isn't that right, Jeff?
Maybe I need to check.
Did y'all get one?
Yeah, it's in your mailbox in there. You can have mine, you just have to wear my name badge.
You was looking at me, but you was talking to Tim.
No, I was talking.
No,
to
you were looking at me, but you were talking to Tim.
No. I'm gonna be chairman that next year, the next 2 years.
It's free meal cheeseburger.
He told me it was a baby shower.
Hey,
Coy?
so what you do with it? Throw it
I
away?
didn't touch it. I don't go to baby showers.
Mr. Chairman, we will schedule it for Tuesday the second for our budget
Okay,
committee discussion.
Tuesday 2nd at 5 PM,
Yes, sir.
okay.
Which day?
Tuesday, the 2nd,
Martha's gonna remind us.
okay.
If I'm late, y'all start without me.
Is there anything else we need to talk about before we recess?
If I'm not here by 7 o'clock, y'all call and see if I'm coming.
Ryan, thank you for participating.
No problem.
Enjoy your vacation.
No worries.
Okay. And we are in recess until April the 2nd at 5 PM.
Yeah.